Okay, conversation about Christianity. Um, for the most part, I would say that Christianity is a term that refers to people who, one way or another, have been identified as Christians. Um, it includes everybody who's perceived to be included, and it doesn't exclude anybody who is perceived to be included. The only criteria to being included in Christianity is the willingness of someone to affirm the idea that they're included in Christianity. Okay? There's no agreed upon method within Christianity to exclude anyone or anything from Christianity. Christianity today includes uh, a type of, I would say, interfaith ideology. Okay? You look at Joseph Smith, who's the guy, the guy over the Mormons or the guy behind the Mormons. Charles Taze Russell, who's the Jehovah's Witness guy. Snoop Dogg, G Funk Era, Ellen G. White, Seven Day Adventist, Tyler Perry, cross dressing, Barack Obama, LGBTQXYZ affiliate, um, the KKK, the Pope, John Calvin, Adolf Hitler, um, the religious organizations with lesbians in charge or homosexuals in charge or child molesters in charge or womanizers in charge. Everybody I just named, they all function in different lanes of Christianity. Or am I wrong about that? There's certain things where I feel like a person doesn't have a choice. They have to affiliate themselves. Like everybody's guilty of transgressing the Torah. Everybody's guilty of sin, you know. But when it comes to Christianity, um, I'm not knocking Christianity right now. I have my own opinions about it overall, but just to look at it, you know, for the conversation, what is it or what is it not? Um, the okay, let's see if I can. Okay, let's stop. Maybe that'll help. Okay, so let's look at Christianity, and say for instance the Ten Commandments. All right, no other gods before me. That's no other mighty ones. No other Elohim. Okay. Um, in Christianity, worship and prayer are not limited to Him and Him alone. Now, David said, "You alone are Elohim." That's David, and even in Luke's account of the Messiah, he he says you should worship Him and Him only. Okay, so there is an exclusiveness to the idea of who should be worshipped and etc. But in Christianity, they pray to God, they pray to Jesus, they pray to Saint Mary, they pray to Saint Peter, so on and so forth. Right? You look at no images. That's the second one, right? No, you don't make any images to worship them. Okay. But when you go to Christianity, in the places they identify as houses of worship, they create and display and venerate images of church organization leaders, political figures, athletes. These are all the images that you will find created and lifted up in Christianity's houses of worship. Okay? Am I wrong about this? Um, the third one, don't take my name in vain. Um, I understand that at least to cover misassociation. Taking his name in vain may include more than that, but that's how I see it, or at least that's at least included in it. And when you look at Christianity, There's no way that Christianity doesn't allow the name of their God to be used or taken. Um, there is no way to speak on God that Christianity will unanimously rebuke. So what you have is you got a bunch of different people and different denominations saying different things about their God, even when it contradicts other people in Christianity. There is no cohesive position in Christianity about such a thing. All right. The fourth commandment: work 6 days, rest on the seventh day. It's a holy day. It's a set apart day. Um, Christianity, I think the bigger part of Christianity, they don't set aside the seventh day to rest. Matter of fact, all my life, I've always heard about the Ten Commandments, but they really only honor nine. Well, I'm going to say nine of them are addressed, and I guess the fourth one, they kind of use the writings of you what's the word, uh, anonymous apostle, to kind of turn the fourth commandment into something very different than work on 6 days and rest on the seventh. Um, even Leviticus 23, there's a whole chapter of days that are to be regarded as holy. Now these were set apart days. For those who speak Hebrew, Moedim, something to that effect. You know what I'm trying to say. But those holy days have, every culture has holy days. They just call them holidays. But the English word holidays is simply a derivative of the word holy day. And Christianity celebrates a lot of holy days. But none of those holy days are the ones in the book. None of them are the ones that are prescribed in Leviticus 23. And at the same time, none of the holy days in the book are celebrated in Christianity. I don't believe. I mean, you may have some that celebrate a part of this or part of that. So that's not a total statement. But yeah, I think that I think that's a fair statement. Now Christmas across the board, Easter across the board, Passover, Feast of Tabernacles, Day of Atonement, Feast of Unleavened Bread. Is you know, it's just different. Um, Even the honor your father and mother commandment. Okay, honoring your father and mother, that has to have something to do with understanding the role of your father and mother. Um, the fathers have been given the instruction to teach the children. Fathers. Fathers are supposed to be the primary teachers, but not just to teach them just for the sake of teaching them. It's a curriculum which begins, or primarily is, to teach them the Torah. In Christianity, is that the thing? Is that a thing? Fathers teaching the children the Torah? I don't necessarily see that as being a thing that's honored. Or even when it comes to the role of women, when you look at Proverbs 31, it talks about a virtuous woman. And when you study the word virtuous and the original word and all this other stuff, you end up seeing that that word is affiliated with being strong and powerful and loyal. So this virtuous woman is being spoken of with respects to how she honors the Most High, how she honors her husband, and how she honors the household she belongs to. So the honor that goes to the mother, at least when it comes to the commandments, my money says that's got to have something to do with what is perceived to be the role of the father and mother. Um, Thou shalt not commit murder, or don't murder people. That's a commandment. Um, One of the biggest genocidal massacres taking place in Christianity is the murder of unborn children. Um, it clearly says, speaks against the shedding of innocent blood. That's spoken against in the scripture. But in Christianity, it's more of a personal matter, personal slash political, something of that nature. There's even a book called Pro-Choice, Pro-Choice and Christian, Reconciling Faith, Politics, and Justice. So in Christianity, you can be pro murdering children. That's not off the table. Okay. Um, Adultery. Don't commit adultery. Man, in our culture, we kind of miss some things, or we don't really address certain things about adultery. When you read about it in the scriptures with the prophets, etc., it's a term that describes the defilement of someone married to a husband, someone who belongs to a husband. You can check that out for yourself. Now, the Messiah is recorded as speaking out against divorce, any type of divorce outside of it being the result of sexual deviance, violating the Torah sexually. He even spoke against women. No, let me say this the right way. He spoke against the idea of women who were wrongfully divorced being taken into marriage by somebody else. Now, according to the Messiah, that is adultery. According to the Messiah, okay? Christianity celebrates the marriage of wrongfully divorced people the same way they celebrate marriages not identified by the Messiah as adultery. I've been a musician, a church musician, for a long time. I played at a lot of weddings. And the fact that the woman was not divorced from the previous guy for acceptable reasons has never stopped the party once, ever. And the man stands in front and says, by the power invested in me by the Christian God in the state of California, we moving forward. And everybody celebrates. Now, if I'm not representing this correctly, again, don't just take my word for it. I mean, see if I'm right about that. In Christianity, if anything, they just kind of dive into some theological swamp water to justify doing stuff that is clearly prohibited, spoken against. Don't bear false witness. Okay, some people say thou shalt not lie. It says don't bear false witness. Now, false evidence, false accusation. You think about it this way. Let's talk about Paul for a second, okay? Christianity systematically promotes Paul to be a hand-picked apostle of the Messiah who promotes the idea that faith alone placed in the Most High is salvation. Okay? Faith alone. They say that this is the doctrine, and they say that a hand-picked Messiah named Paul is the guy who we can refer to verify this. Now, when the Most High talked to his people through Moses, it was very clear that he expected them to do something. And he said, hey, if you do this, then I will act on your behalf. if you don't do what I tell you, then I'm going to take it a different way and you're going to pay for it. So it was very clear that what they chose to do was a very real part of the relationship. Um, when he spoke to both Abraham's son and David's son, he said to them, "You are in a good place because of the relationship I had with your pop. And your pop did X, Y, and Z. And that's why I have the regard I have for your father." Now, with David, he told Solomon, hey, that Uriah incident was a black eye. But other than that, your pop did the right thing. So again, there's a very clear attention being given to what you do. The Messiah said that his brothers and sisters were they that do the will of his Father in heaven. Attention again being given to what a person chooses to do. Even the apostle who is given the credit for writing the epistle known as James, and historians believe that this may have been literally a blood sibling of the Messiah or half brother. He said faith alone is dead. Now, he didn't say faith alone is dead word for word. He said faith without the behavior, the action that go along with it is dead. So how could something dead save you? Now, I'm not saying that I'm not saying faith alone doesn't save you. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying faith alone does save you. What I'm saying is, if that's what you're saying and you're attributing it to a guy who you believe to be handpicked by the Messiah, but he's saying something different than the prophet said, he's saying something different than the Most High said, he's saying something different than the Messiah said, he's saying something different than a handpicked apostle that we can verify because there were witnesses when he was handpicked. The only witness that was there when Paul was allegedly handpicked was Paul. I'm not anti-Paul yet, but it's a lot of dudes that have said, yeah, he told me some stuff when y'all wasn't around. He gave me a certain responsibility and he called me to do this thing when y'all wasn't around. Now, don't get me wrong. When Moses was approached, it was just Moses and the cattle, as far as I know. But then Moses kind of brought plagues and Red Sea opening and the tablets from off the mountain and just a whole long line of things that would say, yeah, I think he's the real deal. So, again, this is for the conversation. It's for the conversation. But to say that there's a hand-picked apostle by the Messiah who taught a doctrine that said faith alone is salvation, A, either he's not a hand-picked apostle, he's a fraud, or B, he's being misunderstood. Because I can't reach that place to believe that he would say something that is so different than what was already said, verified, confirmed, backed up, established, the whole nine. All right. Coveting. Don't covet. You look at the Christianity culture versus what Christianity refers to as secular culture. Coveting is this idea of wrongfully acquiring or having something that's not yours. Again, the people of the Most High were told, hey, look, do not integrate or assimilate the customs, the ordinances, etc. of outsiders. Okay? But when you look at Christianity, the influence and ideology of those who reject the Messiah can clearly be observed in the ideology and practices found in Christianity. I'm going to make it more clearer. It's a whole lot of stuff going on in Christianity that didn't come out the book, came from somewhere else. Outsiders. There's a book called Pagan Christianity. A lot of the stuff that you see going on in Christianity, they give you the steps to its origin, to its sources. And just because the guys wrote a book, that doesn't make it true. I would advise you to do what I did. Look at all the footnotes and research all the footnotes. That doesn't make it true either. But once you realize where these things allegedly come from, I would ask anybody, go and talk to a person who practices Christianity and say, where in the Bible did you get this from? I'm very interested to see the answer. I kind of think I already know what the answer would be. They would say, well, it's traditional. And the Messiah said, hey, people use the traditions to make the actual real rules ineffective. He said something to the effect of, you use your traditions to make the laws of God of none effect, or the laws of Yahweh or Jehovah or the Most High, none effect. So it's to be considered. So overall, I would say that Christianity is the religion of people who committed some of the greatest atrocities and yet motivated some of the greatest innovation and accomplishments in the last 2,000 years. You got to give it the full credit. A lot of good things, or the things that are perceived to be good things, come straight out of Christianity. A lot of the charity work, all that type of stuff, Christianity. But at the same time, you got a lot of genocides coming out of Christianity. You got this warped slave ideology. And where did this come from? It came from people who practicing Christianity using the Bible to mistreat people who were slaves and indoctrinate them to remain enslaved even when to some degree they were set free or something to that nature. Wow. The slaughtering of Protestants, Christianity. The slaughtering of Jews, Christianity. The slaughtering of Baptists by Protestants, Christianity. The slaughtering of Native Americans, Christianity. The slaughtering of unborn children. You know who does that? One nation under God. So, ultimately, I'm going to definitely say that when you read this book, this collection of history and writings by prophets and things of that nature that you find in this book called the Holy Bible, I'm going to go ahead and say that ain't about Christianity. So that's the conversation.